What do Nazis, alien death cults, and Zionists have in common? That's what I found myself wondering, as pro-Israel arguments have been growing more deranged with every passing day. One person even told me that the 4,000 children that Israel killed were actually responsible for their own deaths. So what the f is going on here? It's easy to dismiss these people as demons, monsters, and lunatics, but they rarely are. And that's what makes it all much weirder. In the 1950s, a group of fairly ordinary people, just like you and I, all quit their jobs and sold their belongings because they believed that on the 21st of December, 1954, the world was going to end and that aliens would come from space to save them. The day came and went and nothing happened. But rather than losing faith, members of the Seekers cult actually grew more convinced in their beliefs. Psychologist Leon Festinger studied the cult and identified this behavior as an example of cognitive dissonance, the psychological distress caused by holding two opposing beliefs in your head. When we experience cognitive dissonance, our brains warp our thoughts to make the reality that we live in easier to face. It was easier for the cult members to believe that humanity was spared for being good than admitting that they are idiots who ruined their lives by joining a cult. And that's exactly what happened with the Nazis and now the Zionists. These were perfectly normal, even good people who ended up believing in and committing terrible things, and they had to reconcile that in their brain. According to historian Anthony D. Cotters, in war, soldiers often blame their victims for their own misfortune, labeling them as detestable, corrupt, and weak. They could have been like Dubai, but they chose terror instead, and now live in poverty. When innocents died, the soldiers blamed them as careless, saying that they should have avoided the battlefield. We dropped leaflets telling them to evacuate. Why didn't they leave? The soldiers blamed their connections to the enemy. They voted for Hamas. They chose terror. They are a human shield, and the hospital is a Hamas base. And when all else fails, dehumanization. Seeing them as human animals who need to be exterminated, who are uncivilized people who need to be saved. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of the people in Israel. You have good, moral people, people who give to charity, who look after the homeless, who feed animals in the street, who love their friends and family, who are now having to deal with the reality that their existence, their whole life, is built on genocide. Their brains simply can't reconcile that, so it changes it. And that's why, as the death toll climbs and the genocide grows bloodier, their reality warps further and further into delusion.